Hi everyone, I'm Terry Johnson, and I'm so excited to welcome you to this new series that I'm launching in 2021 called Terry's Tuesday Tips. Each week, I'll be bringing to you new tips on Silhouette Cameo, Silhouette Studio, other Silhouette machines, Curio, Alta, Mint, and even sublimation and sometimes embroidery. So be sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the bell to set your notifications so that you'll be notified when we post another video or even when we go live sometimes. So today I'm going to share with you some tips for getting started with a Silhouette Cameo 4. We have had so many new Cameo 4 owners and 3, but 4 owners join our All Things Silhouette Facebook group. Hundreds, literally, in the last week. And I know so many have gotten machines for Christmas, and some of them are new to Silhouette. Some have upgraded from older Silhouettes, and some have come over from other machines. So while you may have been a longtime Silhouette user, you still might learn some things, but I'm hoping this will get some of the new ones started off on the right foot. New users started off on the right foot. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the software. I can't tell you, pretty much every day I see questions about whether or not Silhouette Studio can be run on either an iPhone, an Android, a Chromebook, a tablet, an iPad. The answer to all of those questions is no. Silhouette Studio is a very powerful, large graphic program that actually takes up quite a bit of space on your hard drive of your computer. So there simply isn't enough room on a mobile device to run the full Silhouette Studio program. You need a computer, a laptop or a desktop, and on the Silhouette Studio, a Silhouette America website, there is a list of the minimum requirements that you need in your computer in order to run the software. I'll post a link to that. So if you are new and you're going to be installing Silhouette Studio or purchasing a new computer, you want to double check those minimum requirements. And you probably want to go above and beyond the minimum so that your software will run the most efficiently and fast as possible. I'm not saying that you need to run out and buy a new computer, but I would recommend that you check these requirements, especially if you're having some trouble. Now, all that being said, there is a new Silhouette Go app that's still in beta, beta status, beta mode, that you can download and play around with. It's not a full design program, but it does sync your library and allows you to access the designs from your library as well as stored SVG files. And when you open those in the Silhouette Go app, you can edit them a little bit. You can mirror image, you can scale, you can ungroup, you can group, you can turn on print and cut settings, some things like that, but it's not a full design program with fonts and such, and the design tools. So I will also link information on that, or where you can find that for both Android and Apple devices, so that you can play around with that app. I use it when we go camping. If you don't know, we have a fairly new RV this year, and I have a Portrait 3 that I take camping with me. And I like to get my designs all ready to go, and then I can use my phone or my iPad with the Silhouette Go app and send them to cut on my portrait. So it's really handy for traveling or something like a scrapbook crop, something like that, that you might want to not lug your computer. So that's my number one tip. Be sure you have the right requirements for the studio software. Also, if you are using an older Cameo, perhaps you got that from a friend or you dug it out from the closet, they no longer include a CD to download this software. You just want to go straight to the Silhouette America site and download the most current version there. Also, there's a difference between upgrades and updates. Updates are what the Silhouette Studio developers put out from time to fix bugs, sometimes add new features and things like that. But upgrades, and all of that is free. Updates are free. You can download. But upgrades give you additional features. The Silhouette basic software is free. There is a Designer Edition upgrade, a Designer Plus upgrade, and Business Edition. The most expensive is Business Edition, and if you go all the way from free to business, it's only $100, but never pay full price. I'll link some retailers that always have it on discount. And if you watch Silhouette America, they put it on sale from time to time, often 40 to 50% off. And those are usually instant downloads. So again, I will link to that below and a chart that shows you the different features in the different upgrade versions. So you can take a look at it and decide what you want to install on your computer. So software is the number one thing. Number two that I see a lot of questions about and causes new users problem is the AutoBlade. I'm going to switch over to my other camera so that you can see the AutoBlade, and I'm going to show you how to install it correctly and do some other things with that. Okay, so here we are at the machine with the AutoBlade installed in tool holder number 1 and the rotary blade installed in tool number 2. We're not going to talk much about the rotary blade today. I want to get you guys started with the AutoBlade, and we're going to talk about adapters and ratchet blades. The most important thing, well, there's two. Well, there's more than two. But one of the most important things with the AutoBlade is to be sure that the cap is on tight. Now, hang on just a second. Let me get out the little device. Every one of you received with your Cameo this little tool, and usually nobody knows what to do with it. So what you're going to do with it, this part right here fits onto your blade cap like this and twist. Let's see if that's going to focus in so you can see it. Okay, there we go. So it will twist to either tighten or remove your cap. What I wanted to tell you, make sure before you insert your blade that that cap is tight. Now, I don't want you to over crank it and screw it and strip it, but just make sure it's nice and tight so it's not going to fall off. I have seen blade caps fall off and end up down here in this cutting area, and obviously that causes a problem and you don't get a nice cut. The next thing is, and this is probably the most important, is to make sure you insert the blade correctly. So what I recommend is that with your left hand, you push down. This little thing pulls out. This little one notch pulls out. So with your left hand, drop the blade in and push it down a little bit. With your right hand, push up and snap in. The most important thing, if you can see it here, is that there is absolutely, let me zoom in a little bit, oops, I'm going crooked here. No gap whatsoever. You want that, let me see if I can straighten you out here. Well, more or less. You want that to be 100% flush and no gap. I mean, not even a hairline gap. That would cause a problem. So that's the most important thing, to make sure your blade is installed correctly. Number 2, if you can see over here, and I'm going to come over a little bit closer, there's a little hole here. And when your blade moves over, that's where it goes down there and taps to adjust the depth. Now, it's important that your mat is not covering that up and that there is no debris in there. So those are two important things when using your AutoBlade. Now, you can use a ratchet blade, and this is what we call a ratchet blade, this black blade that came with previous machines and you can still buy. However, you need an adapter to use that in the Cameo 4. There are 4 different colored adapters that came with your machine: gray, blue, white, and black. And I'll put a link up that tells you they're for different blades. Each one is for a different blade. And I'll put a link up to show you. But what I want you to see, this black adapter is what you use with the ratchet blade. So if your AutoBlade is dull, or maybe you just don't like it, you can use a ratchet blade with an adapter, the black adapter. There is a groove right here and then a notch right here. So what you have to do is line this little fin here up with that groove in the back. It's always tricky when you're recording. And then this ledge has to fit in that groove here. Hang on, I'll get it and I'll show you. Well, hang on just a minute. I got to get my glasses. It's not this hard. It's just hard when you're recording. All right, so let's try this again. We're going to put this in there. and this in there. All right, so you can see this little ledge. Oops, no, you can't. This little ledge fits in this section right here. And the fin fits in that groove right back there. There's really only one way it'll fit. And then close it over here and snap it closed. Now, when you would insert, if you were to insert this blade instead of your auto blade, again, let me see if I can get this focused here. When I move around, it throws the camera off. I'm going to put this in here. Again, push down with my left hand, up with my right hand, and snap it in so that there is no gap. Also on this, it's important you can tighten this cap on your blade as well. This device is what goes to the back side so that it's what tells the machine what blade you have inserted. Now, a little trick that maybe even my longtime users don't know is you can open up this compartment and there's a place to store your little tool and a blade, with or without. You can put an auto blade or one with a ratchet blade there. So that's just a little hidden compartment there that you can use to store your blades. Again, I'll provide a link. Oh, I guess we need some blade in it here, don't we? I'll provide a link below to the blade chart that tells you what adapter goes with what blade. Now, make sure that's in there tight and snaps with no gap whatsoever. Now, it's very important when you load your mat that the edge of your mat goes up against that line right there. If you're on an older Cameo, there may not be a line, but there will be a raised edge that you can feel. But it's important that you line up your mat correctly. It's also important, and I'm going to zoom back out here just a little bit. Try to anyway. There we go. It's also important when you load your mat that you always have this arrow here pointing up or down. You can do it either way, but never to the side. The blue liner comes off. And save that because you're going to want to put that back on to keep lint and dust and things like that out of your machine. So again, there's two ways to load your mat. And I'm going to show you both. You're going to line this up here, push it up against the rollers, and push the load button. And it loads just like that. I'm going to unload. Now, a second way, if you can see that little hole right there, that is a sensor for the auto load feature. Now, what you're going to do to use that auto load feature is you're going to push the load button. The light will begin to flash, and then you have 6 seconds to line your mat up, and it loads automatically. Let's try that one more time. I'm going to unload. Again, make sure nothing is covering that sensor right there. Push the load button. Your load button flashes, and you have 6 seconds to put your mat up there, and it loads. So that's kind of nice because it allows you to hold both sides of the mat and make sure that the mat loads evenly and straight. One thing that I did forget to tell you is that if you are using a ratchet blade, this is the little place right here that you can adjust your blade. You don't have to keep up with this little gray thing that came with your machine because I would lose that for sure. But you simply put your ratchet blade in here. Let's see, there we go, right here. And then you can turn it and adjust it accordingly. It's probably better to do it out of the adapter. Oh, there we go. So mine, you have to put that red arrow in the front at that arrow, and then you can turn it 2, 3, 4, whatever it is that you want your blade to be at. And you can use that just like that. So that's the best thing about loading your blades and your mats. Now let me just go back over here and talk to you a little bit about mats. Okay, so let me just talk to you a little bit about your mats. I already told you that you need to save that blue liner to protect your mat. You want to put the glossy side down, not the paper side, or you'll have problems. Also, your new mats are super sticky. So you may need to de-stick it a little bit with either putting a t-shirt or something on it and just get a little bit of something on there so that your mat isn't quite so sticky, especially if you're working with cardstock or a paper that is a vinyl that is paper backed, because it'll stick and really cause a mess on your mat. That being said, mats do get de-sticked or unsticky as time goes by. You'll get debris on it, lint, especially if you're cutting fabric or glitter or something like that, cardstock, and it will lose its stickiness. So a lot of people do try to re-stick them using like some kind of temporary spray adhesive, and I've done that in a pinch, but I really recommend pitching them and getting new ones. Again, at Mother's Day and Black Friday usually at 40 to 50% off of mats and blades with discounted shipping. So that's when I stock up. I'll buy a dozen mats or more and just keep them in stock and make sure that I have mats on hand and blades, because you never want to be without either one. And then you can just pitch the old ones. I really haven't come up with much that they're good for. Some people that are more creative and resourceful than I am have. But anyway, I recommend using a fresh mat. And I also recommend Silhouette mats. I know that a lot of people use different mats. Some people use Cricut mats. They use other off-brand mats that they purchased on Amazon or discounted somewhere. And I really recommend the Silhouette mats. Cricut mats are a different thickness, and they can adjust your impact your roller height, and that also impacts how your blade is hitting your material and the quality of your cut. I have been in more than one class with my students having problems, and lo and behold, they're using a Cricut mat. Switch to a Silhouette mat and it clears right up. Now, I'm not saying that's the only problem, but that could very well be part of the problem. So I recommend that you only use a Silhouette mat, especially if you're having trouble. These machines are calibrated to be used with a Silhouette mat. The other thing is, if you're using a non-Silhouette aftermarket product that is not made by Silhouette or endorsed by Silhouette, you can void your warranty. Your warranty is a year, I believe, on a new machine. So if you have a new machine and you use an off-brand blade or an off-brand mat, you can void your warranty. So that's just something to consider. All right, so we've talked about mats. We've talked about software. We've talked about blades. So I also want to talk to you about Silhouette. I want to actually go to the software. We talked about installing and downloading software. So I want to talk to you about actually using the software and setting up for your first few cuts. All right, so we're going to switch cameras again, and we're going to go to the software screen. So let me get my glasses on so that I can actually see what's going on here. And I am going to take you right to the software here. Okay, so here we are in the software, and I have opened it, and I have a little star here on the page. But what I want to show you here, let me go back here, and we're going to set up our page with the page setup panel right here. When I open that panel, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in. Oops, that just zooms in on the mat, not the panels. Okay, so when I open up this panel, you have a choice to select your machine here. You can select Cameo. You'll see a variety of machines that Silhouette makes, and you want to make sure that the right machine is selected. If you are cutting without a mat, or if you're just printing, so not if you're cutting without a mat, but if you're creating something that you want to print and maybe not cut, you can actually say none. But for the most part, you're going to be using a Cameo. You can use the cutting mat. The default is the 12 by 12, which is what I have right here. But there are other options. There is a 12 by 24 longer mat. There is a smaller portrait mat. Oh, wrong place here. Hang on. There is a smaller portrait mat that you could use for letter-sized things like this. And there is also a pick scan mat. But most often, you're going to be using a regular 12 by 12 Cameo mat. However, if you're cutting without a mat, Like with a roll of vinyl, you could say you would want to tell the machine you are cutting with none. It does impact how your material loads and feeds, so you want to make sure. And then also you select the size of your material. I was working with print and cut here, so I have letter size on my screen. Now, the other thing I want to show you here on the screen is the transparency. If you would like to see the grid, for example, let's say you were going to do 2 of these stars and you wanted to make sure, let's say one was bigger. And you wanted to make sure they were placed in a certain position on the mat. But you can't really tell because you can't see your grid. Now, you could go here and show grid. All right, and that does correspond, the way I currently have it set up, to the mat grid. However, I'm going to turn this off. You can also adjust your transparency, which is what I like to do. And what I do is I'm going to take the transparency of the media that I'm working on, about 50%, maybe a little less, and it reduces the transparency of the material so that I can see basically through it and see the grid marks and the inch marks here from my mat. Personally, I find that really helpful. So, you may want to do that as well. You can adjust the transparency. Now, when you're ready for your cut and you're ready to cut, you want to be sure that the items that you're cutting are selected. Just like these stars. You're going to go to Send. And when you go to the Send panel, you have to be sure that the correct machine is selected. Now, and your machine needs to be on. When you come down here, because you're going to see it says no compatible cut action was found. So, and no tool is detected. And we know we have a tool in our machine. So you want to come down here to this little machine icon. And I have a lot of machines going on here. And currently my machine is connected by Bluetooth. Previously, I had it connected by USB. So let me just show you here. This Cameo 4 Bluetooth is available. This Cameo 4 with USB is unavailable. So you want to make sure that you select. If I had a USB cable that I was using to connect, this would show up and I would use this one. But I'm going to use my Cameo 4 with USB. Now, chances are you're not going to have this many machines showing up unless you have as many machines as I do. I've got a Plus, a Pro, and go on and so forth. But if for whatever reason you have multiple machines that show up and you don't want them to be in that list, you simply X them out with these little X's on the right-hand side. But currently, I am working with the Cameo 4 with the Bluetooth. And once it syncs up and connects, it's going to say ready to load. So this sometimes is another problem for people because they have perhaps instead of the Bluetooth, they have the Cameo 4. I already X'd it out. But they may have another machine selected and that causes them a problem when they cut. Now, the other thing, now that I've got the correct machine connected to the software, you're going to see that it is detecting my blade. It says that there is an auto blade there, and it is set to cut. And the default material is cardstock. Now, I want to tell you something about these settings. It's important that you, let's say, for example, that I was going to cut this out of vinyl. Let me go down here to vinyl glossy, or just vinyl glossy. Now, you're going to see that the auto blade setting for this is a setting of 1. Right down here is where you would load your material and your mat. I'm not currently loaded, and create a test cut. That cuts a tiny little square with a triangle in it in the upper left-hand corner of your material. So you would want to unload your mat and see if you can easily weed out that test cut to make sure that your cut is correct and your material is cutting correctly before you waste your material and get a bad cut. I'm just going to tell you that these settings are suggestions. They are a place to start. Everybody needs to test. Their machines are going to be a little different, but I find with my Cameo 4 that I need to increase my blade depth by 1 to 2. The default is 1. I'm going to revert and show you. The default is 1, but I have to increase mine a little bit to 2 in order to get a cut that I'm happy with. I'm not saying that's going to be the case on yours. I just recommend that you always test cut before you get started. If you're not getting a cut that you're happy with, you can adjust your blade depth and your force, and I would start with 1. Start with your blade depth. If that doesn't work, then maybe increase your force a little bit. So these are, let me just get back to you so you get out of the software here. This is just a few little tips to get you started with the software. So that's pretty much it for today. I just wanted to show you a few basic things, and then we're going to delve in and do some more fun things later next week and the weeks to come. And so I'd love, again, for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, leave any comments below with any questions or problems that you're having, and I will definitely answer you back within 24 hours or probably less. And, you know, let's just see if we can't all get started on the right foot and learn together as we head into 2021. I've got a lot of exciting things planned for 2021. And one thing is, as this YouTube channel grows, when we get up to 5,000 subscribers, which we've got a ways to go, we've got about 2,500 as of today, I will be giving away a Cameo 4, a pink Cameo 4. I've been saving it for a special occasion to do a giveaway, and I've decided that this is what it is. I also am going to let you know that I just am bursting at the seams to tell you, but I've got something really exciting coming in the next few weeks. So you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed and subscribe to the blog at Terry Johnson Creates so that you can make sure that you receive notifications for all of these upcoming events. So I hope this helped. I hope it gets you started. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.